Hello, y'all. Everybody here, welcome to the inaugural episode after many years, I guess, of deliberation here of the Comic Book Barbarian Podcast. Name is pending. We'll figure it out. But all about comics and comic culture. You know, we're here to entertain and educate the masses on comic books, the history, stories, and creators, as well as just monitoring and evaluating their continued evolution by two really big comic book fans. So, my name is Corban, aka the Comic Book Barbarian. Here on your left or right, wherever I may be, I think it's my left, is the amazing, the dashing, the great comic book co-host himself, Jay. Jay, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Dashing.
You know,
wow,
we gotta lay it on, all right?
In all my years on this earth, that's the first time anyone's ever used that word.
I have no comment, my friend. That is something else. Okay, well, listen.
Well, thank you.
The first time for everything, and you have it right here, right? So here we go. So listen. This is the first show. We're workshopping it. We're gonna definitely pick it up, add some more things. I'm not gonna promise a whole world here, but there's gonna be a lot more coming. But for right now, we have a bare bones kind of outline here for what we want to do tonight or tomorrow in the morning, whenever y'all listen to this or watching this. First thing we want to do is just go over some news. We really don't have any news. We have one piece of news I'm gonna surprise Jay with. That I want to get his reaction on. Then we have the big story. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we'll kind of finish with a fun little comic question of the day. That is something that I've thought was a great idea that we have one already that we're gonna throw out to Jay and kind of get his answer on. So first things first, let's talk about the comic book news. Really just have one piece of news, and this is something that DC and Marvel are both doing. Where apparently they're bringing their two multiverses together to celebrate old crossovers. So what that means is new editions of classic crossover comics between Marvel and DC over the last, 50 years are coming soon. And I think that's going to be really cool. They've announced two omnibus collections, both set for release August 6th of this year. DC vs. Marvel Omnibus will collect all of the DC and Marvel crossovers published between 1976 and 2000, which I think is going to be very exciting. So that's Superman vs. Spider-Man. There was two matchups of that. Batman vs. The Incredible Hulk. The Teen Titans versus the X-Men, like all of those and a bunch more. While the DC Marvel, the Amalgam Age Omnibus will feature a complete collection of the mid-90s superhero universe made for the combined DC and Marvel universes. So the weird, Wolverine and Batman mashups and all of that, that would be that omnibus. So, yeah, I mean, listen, for all their rivalry, we've seen Marvel and DC come together over the years to do a bunch of different publishing ventures. Starting in the late 70s, went through the mid 80s. Then again, it happened again in the 90s. They did another Marvel vs. DC, and that led to the Amalgam crossover. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. It seems like the two companies are finally coming together, albeit to celebrate their history in this way by reprinting some of the classics that, let's be real, you really can't find outside of certain Comic Cons and things of that nature. But what do you think about that? Are you kind of excited about it? What are your memories? I kind of want to get your feelings on bringing the two multiverses together. This is ground-shaking news here.
Hey, Corbin, wait, before we get into this, wait.
Yes.
I smell something. It's something kind of smells like desperation.
Oh,
no. That's the when stuff like this happens, I can think of nothing else but something horrible is going wrong. Something horrible is going on. Because if times were good, if both sides were thriving, they wouldn't think of doing something like this. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. No, I do.
And so, I mean, it's cool. I remember the amount.
Oh, you faded out on me there.
I was going to say, I remember the Amalgam stuff when it came out, and I don't remember it being that great. But it's fun, they're comics. Comics are fun, right? It's supposed to be. And it's so, I don't know, depending on the price, I might check it out, but I don't think I've ever read the real early ones, like the real, like you were mentioning Spider-Man and Superman and X-Men and Teen Titans. And so that might be pretty cool to check out.
Yeah. Fun fact, I got suspended a week from school for punching a kid who ripped up my mom. My mom gave me the very first, it's like early 2000s, but it was the 1970s and 80s collection of that, up to I think it was printed 97. So it didn't have the newer stuff, but it did have, it didn't have the newer stuff for whatever reason, but it did have, Spider-Man vs. Superman. They had two different matchups together, boom, and then Batman the Hulk, Teen Titans the X-Men. Each one, of course, you have your clash between the two heroes, but behind the scenes is the villains for both respective franchises working together. So for Superman and Spider-Man, it was Lex Luthor and Doc Ock. For Batman the Incredible Hulk, it was the Joker and I'm forgetting the other character there. And I know for the Teen Titans and the X-Men, it was the Brotherhood and Darkseid. It was the Brotherhood and Deathstroke, with Darkseid being like the main baddie. But like either way, it was this really cool collection. And I went to school and I brought it every day for like 2 weeks. And I left it down. I don't know why I left it. I went to run the rest or whatever, left the book down. This kid bullied me and like ripped it as I was coming back. And I just gave him a 2-piece combo. And I got suspended for a week and a half. So
you gave him the old 2-piece.
It was one of those. But yeah, that wasn't my finest moment, but I was also like 10. But that's what I remember. And I'm going to read the full lineup here because let me take a deep breath here. The full lineup of titles available in the first DC vs. Marvel Omnibus. It's going to be, didn't even recognize some of these. Batman and Captain America, number 1. Batman and Daredevil, number 1. Batman and Punisher, Lake of Fire, number 1. I'm not going to do number 1s. They're all number 1s. Batman and Spider-Man, Daredevil and Batman, DC Special Series number 27. That's the one I remember, Batman vs. the Incredible Hulk. Darkseid vs. Galactus, The Hunger. Green Lantern and Silver Surfer, Unholy Alliances. The Incredible Hulk vs. Superman. Marvel and DC present, featuring the Uncanny X-Men, the New Teen Titans, number 1. Also remember that. Marvel Treasury Edition, number 28. That's Superman and Spider-Man. Punisher, Batman, Deadly Knights. That was a classic combo. They just kept going, milking that cow. Silver Surfer and Superman. Spider-Man and Batman. Superman vs. The Amazing Spider-Man. And Superman Fantastic Four. So it's going to be a jam-packed book of first all between the 70s through the 90s of all of these different crossovers. So I think it's going to be kind of fun. Definitely going to represent a time when things were, like you said, kind of reached this desperation. I think even back then, you had the comic bubble and different things going on that you want to spark, interest in an industry that was kind of flailing about. So, I mean, is lightning striking twice, a third time, a fifth time, a seventh time? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, whatever the reason, man. I just want to say that if that kid, if that's all he got from you was the 1-2 combo, he deserved more.
Listen.
He deserved far more.
Aside from my comics, I preach nonviolence now, but you're right. He got off easy. I let him off too easy there. But I mean, for news, listen, like it's cool. Like you said, I think it does reek of some desperation. I wish it were just a nod to the real comic fans and giving them something that they would like. And I guess to some element, like in some respect, that is what it is, right? But I definitely wish there was more going on, in terms of like, wow, like, is this like a sign for something in the future? Like
that's what I'm thinking.
You are? I wish I was. I don't see it.
I maybe. Well, I'm just saying maybe there'll be a new limited series crossovers.
Could be. Definitely could be. So we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I'm with you. Hopefully there's a future for that because right now both have had their respective ups and downs and a lot of downs recently. So something where they can come together, get fan creators in the same space with the favorite properties and giving a story that fans would really want to read. I think that's the important thing. But for now, I'll settle for reliving the glory days. Whatever. Like,
sure. Hey,
here we are.
That always works
all the time.
That always works, man. Glory days. It's always shot of nostalgia. Always wakes a person up.
Exactly. Exactly. Right back. Right. Let's get to our big story. So we'll get the big story is really the Deadpool 3 trailer, which we'll talk about here in a bit. That's the big story. The little setup, the precursor to that. This past week, I watched the Marvels, not Captain Marvel. I watched the Marvels for the first time. It was one of those movies. Let's be real. All of this latest phase for Marvel has been, like there's been a few things here and there. I thought Echo was good. I didn't hate What If season 2. Loki, obviously, everyone loved season 2 of Loki. But Secret Invasion was a flop, right? Like, there's been some other things that's been not super great. We can go into all the movies, right? The Doctor Strange, and like it's mostly been bad than good, right? The Ant-Man and the Quantumania, like it's been rough. So when the Marvels came out at first, I'm not gonna lie, like when it first was announced, I was like, okay, cool. Like I'd love to see what this looks like. Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. You have the team up with all of them. In addition to Monica Rambeau, like seeing what that looks like. Like, yeah, great, give it to me. And then as it got closer, I just didn't have that energy to watch it. I was like, oh, it's coming out, cool. All right, cool. When is it coming out? November? Yeah, November 10th. Okay, I'll check that out. And then November came and left, and it was Thanksgiving. I was like, okay, I'll get to that. And then December came, and I was like, I'll get to it. And then Christmas, and I was like, whatever. And by that point, I heard the reviews, and I was like, I'm not watching this. But here we are. Me and Jay, reconvened literally a week ago. We're like, let's start this show. What are we going to talk about? I'm like, I haven't seen the Marvels. Let's do it. So we both went and watched it. Credit to Jay. I think this is your second time watching it.
Yeah. It was, a lot like you. I remember hearing when the movie was coming out, and I just always try to keep a positive view. Even when the trailers are just stinkers, and it's going to be bad when even the trailers are bad, because that's supposed to be like the super cut, right? Like the best parts of that's what makes you want to see the movie. And when that sucks, you don't have a lot of hope. You feel pretty deflated. And I took my daughter on opening night to go see the Marvels. We were there was about 4 other people in the theater. Opening night,
4 other people.
Opening night.
Oh Lord!
There were 6 of us in the theater, and my daughter, and this really made me kind of sad. She goes, Dad, remember when we used to come to these Marvel movies on opening night and it was full? Like, yeah, I do.
Heartbreaking stuff. Because that was the truth. It was big money. Like, this was like an event to itself. This wasn't optional. Like, Marvel movies were like, all right, we got to see this. And now Marvel movies like, I might see it. Like, I have the same energy toward an incoming Marvel movie as I do for, speaking of, the new Madam Web movie.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, but looking at the reviews, 5.6 on IMDb, 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, 50% on Metacritic. I watched it, and I'm not gonna lie, like, real brief review. Yeah, it's not a great movie, right? Like, I may be speaking, I don't know, a little bit of devil's advocate here. I don't think it was the actress's fault. I think it was the writing.
No.
Like,
right. That's all. That's what it usually is.
Everyone from Brie Larson to Zawe Ashton to Tiana Paris, Iman Vellani, like all of the Iman Vellani stood out. Like, even with what she was given, she went above and beyond that. Like, I'm not a big Miss Marvel fan, but I did like Iman's performance for that character, and they obviously Miss Marvel was the heart of that movie, right? But it just felt like it was a lot happening in a little bit of time, and also nothing happening in the time that was given. Like, it just kind of kept going, and there was, I guess, this emotional backdrop of Carol Danvers' relationship with Monica Rambeau and how she had disappeared the entire time. That was tied up much too neatly for my taste. Dar-Ben as the big baddie wasn't big or bad, really. She was bad, but she wasn't really like a big threat. At no point did I feel anything for anyone she was threatening,
Right.
And the conflict between them wasn't exciting. Like, it just was. It was a decent movie. It wasn't as good a movie as for what it was hyped at all. But like, out of 10, I'm not gonna lie. For someone saying it wasn't that bad, I'm gonna give it like a 3 out of 10. Like, it was a complete waste of time. But it also wasn't like something I'm gonna be like, I'm probably never watching the movie again unless it's like on FX or something as I'm browsing through channels.
The thing that I felt after watching it is I feel like it was rushed. It was thrown together, and it was made by people who don't have a clue of what a comic book movie should be. Granted, I'm no filmmaker either, but you sit there and you think, as a nerd, we, a sci-fi fantasy, yeah, they're not real, these things, but some of these things we expect some kind of explanation, some kind of, well, how did this happen? How did this person get from A to B? But at least give us some. This kind of read like it not read, but it played out like some. It was amateur hour at Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
And I, you're saying it, the writing was that, but Brie Larson showed absolutely no facial emotion in this movie at all. Like she might as well be wearing like a Carol Danvers. Remember those old like Halloween masks that you just had like
just a straight up
one,
okay.
One expression. I thought it's just so many things. I'm sitting there going, well, how did this happen? Well, why don't they just do this? It's funny. Like I remember when they were sitting there on that planet where the singing prince and his, the village where she was a princess or whatever.
Yeah, it was so weird and disjointed.
And that ship, right? That the baddie lady's ship was coming up, and I'm sitting there thinking, why isn't she just go and fly through that thing like she did Thanos's?
Oh,
like what's the I'm like, yeah, just fly through that thing. That's how you took down Thanos' ship, if I remember correctly. And at the very end, I thought it was funny when Monica Rambeau goes, oh, their son is dying, and she goes, well, you have the power to do that. You're Captain Marvel. I'm like, really? So, A, they couldn't have come up with this brilliant deduction in the beginning of this movie, and B, suddenly Monica Rambeau knows Carol Danvers' powers more than she does. It's stuff like that. I'm like, this isn't adding up. This doesn't add up.
No, it's one of those things where I don't know. It just, like you said, the entire time it didn't give itself enough credit, but there wasn't any credit to give itself. You know what I mean? Like it was just all over the place. You try to impart humor. You try to have some legacy of what Carol Danvers did as Captain Marvel in her past that she had to make peace with. Both with her being called the Annihilator and her having to undo the damage she caused there, and also a relationship with Monica Rambeau. But both were tied much too neat for my liking. Miss Marvel being as big as she was great, but it was kind of overpowered the balance there, because then of course, again, Monica Rambeau is almost like a plot device, which she is. And even at the very end, when you use her to, show the alternate universe, and you have the Beast, and you mentioned Charles, great. I guess it was cool to see it, but also I was like, oh my god, I was like, oh, is that Cassie? Oh, okay, cool. It wasn't anything more than mild interest, and that was my entire feeling watching the entire movie. At best, mild interest. At worst, I don't know. I was flipping through Marvel Unlimited when the whole dance scene came up. I really didn't care. I picked up on this new Punisher that we'll talk about here in a second.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm so sick of watching all of these post-credit scenes that go nowhere. Pretty much from phase 4, we get all these post-credit scenes, and I mean, the one I'm thinking about is the Black Knight one. And I know there's a few others where it just didn't go anywhere. It's okay, well, that's not happening. Even the end of this one, when what's her face would Kamala was going around, well, she went to Kate Bishop's house and tried to recruit her for apparently a Young Avengers thing. That's not happening.
Yeah, no, it's not. And there you go. When will we see that? When is the payoff for that? Yeah. If there is a quote unquote payoff. So we probably spent more time on this than people even expected, but we just wanted to kind of give at least content. Okay, content. As our first show, we're kind of just easing in here. I hadn't seen it. It was a great topic. Listen, for those Marvel fans, the Marvels fans, you're welcome. For those who aren't, we're sorry-ish. I don't know. But yeah, thank you, Jay, for sacrificing your time to watch it again, to give some feedback here, because yeah, it won't be getting a second viewing for myself. Unless, like you, I did it for the sake of a podcast. But yeah, just not a great movie. And honestly, it's a good thing Marvel's mostly taking off this year from movies. I really think they need to get their house in order, try to figure out what's going on. Obviously very excited for Deadpool, which, here we go, transition into Deadpool. But aside from that, just haven't seen a whole lot that I'm looking forward to from them. But the Deadpool trailer did drop, Super Bowl Sunday. Well, actually, no. The trailer dropped on YouTube, but the link, like, check out the trailer, dropped on TV. And so, all of us, I'm sure, I mean, Deadpool is the most watched trailer, I think, in Marvel history. The most watched Marvel trailer, something like that just came out yesterday that I saw.
Is it really?
Yeah, I just saw that. In fact, for the sake of accuracy, I'm going to look it up while I'm talking. I know it's great radio here, but...
that says a lot. Yeah. I just, I hope any kind of industry executives or what have you are paying attention to this and sitting there thinking, why is this the most watched trailer and not the past half dozen movies we've made? Yeah. What's the difference? What can we do better?
Why isn't the math? Exactly. No, this is the most watched movie trailer within 24 hours. It's 365 million total views.
even proving my point even more.
Yes. That broke the trailer. The last record holder was another Marvel movie. That was Spider-Man No Way Home.
Really?
That had 355.5 million. Which, I mean, you had Doc Ock, you had the Green Goblin. Like, you had some Spider-Man nostalgic fans. And, I mean, Spider-Man's a big character. But for Deadpool and Wolverine to come up like that, like you said, insane. And yes, some of it, they had some help for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was the most viewed telecast of all time. 123.7 million people. Good game, by the way. I mean, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm not a Travis Kelce fan. But big numbers for that game. And so, yeah, some of it you could definitely attribute to why the numbers are so high for Deadpool and Wolverine. But still, like, it came out, and let me tell you, like, it was glorious. I love the premise. I think there's a lot going on. I think that it's setting itself up to be something similar to Spider-Man No Way Home, because it seems like the president of TVA in this will imply that basically any Marvel variant from the Fox era can show up in this movie. We saw that already in the trailer with the appearance of Pyro from way back in X-Men 2 and X-Men 3, like literally 20 years ago, 23 years ago, like when he was in that. So I think it's showing that they could bring in, we've seen like Jennifer Garner and others who have been talked about as being in this movie. So it's definitely seeming to suggest that you could have all sorts of character variants from these movies in this, which I think will just be hilarious, an ode to the history, albeit a pretty flawed one for Fox and in their Marvel adventures, but also something really fun. So what were your big takeaways from this trailer, Jay? Because I'm not one of those guys to go frame by frame and like, interesting. Yeah. Could that be Dr. Doom? By the way, no, I didn't know Dr. Doom. That's stupid. But like I'm not that type of person, but I am someone to go like, that was pretty cool. I love the scene with him like loading up the clip, like the slow-mo, like all of that. Like that was pretty dope. Like, what did you think about that trailer in general?
It was fun. It didn't give a whole lot, but I'm glad about that. Dude, if I'm going to be honest with you, at this point, as soon as I saw the TVA was involved, I got a little bit nauseated because I have freaking had that whole thing, that whole Loki, both seasons made my eyes crossed. Like, I don't even know, the whole multiverse thing I've almost had it. The only reason why I don't just completely throw my hands up in the air and roll my eyes is because it's Deadpool, and I'm hoping he puts some kind of comic spin on it, or if this is finally used as a tool to actually fix the schlock that Marvel Studios is crapping out, then I'm all for it. But if it's another Doctor Strange, multiverse of madness just type thing, or then, gosh, the multiverse thing, how many times has it been teased or we've gotten versions of it and it doesn't go anywhere? Nothing happens. It's like, finally let this one count.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's definitely going to be something that you want to see a payoff, right? I'm somebody with a little...
That's all I want. Yeah. That's all I want. Something that sticks, Corban.
I'm with you. I guess I have a more ambivalent feeling about it. Like, I'm like, hey, like the TVA makes a great plot device for this, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't expect this Deadpool movie to be something to really. I mean, it's gonna move the whole phase forward, I guess. But how much it does, it's Deadpool. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really putting a whole lot of stock in this, like I was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Like I really thought that was gonna be a game changer.
Oh, and then look where that went. Yeah.
So, it wasn't, but that's what I thought, right? But like, as far as Deadpool, I'm just coming in ready to be entertained, man. Like, if I get anything that moves this thing along, like, yes, I'm here for it. But we know this is probably Hugh Jackman's last appearance as Wolverine. Although, to be fair, we thought the Wolverine back in 2017 was his last appearance. But like, I feel like this is probably his last appearance. I feel like we're getting there. At a certain point, just Hugh Jackman will be too old to play Wolverine. Like, Wolverine is a guy who's like an indeterminate age, of course, but also like he pulled off Old Man Logan well. That's because Hugh Jackman is like older. He's like early 50s, mid 50s. Point being, just time for a new Wolverine. I'm definitely moving forward with that, but I'm never going to say move out Hugh Jackman. Like, Hugh Jackman, come back as long as you want to. I just don't feel like he will. Right? With that being said, yeah, let's just watch it. Let's just enjoy it. I want to see the humor. I already think the action's gonna be great. I think the beginning was either a dream sequence or like literally a moving out of Wade Wilson from the Fox universe with all of those people he knew. Like, they're damn sure not using that Colossus in the MCU, right? And like phasing him forward to this new Marvel universe and seeing what that looks like. So whether it could be some of Deadpool kills the Marvel universe, some of a whole new story involving the TVA. Some really going to be some meta commentary on superheroes, on Disney, on Fox, on franchises. He already said the cinematic universe will change forever or something like that. Like, there's going to be something like that to begin with already. But I'm honestly just excited to sit back and just let the magic happen.
Yeah, I mean, I am in a way, but I do want this holding pattern to finally kick into gear. Like you said, let's get somewhere finally. Everybody thinks, well, I feel like all the stuff that's been coming out is coming out with no direction. What's it moving to? All the past Marvel phases, they've all been moving towards a comic. Yeah, you've got all these movies coming out, but they're all kind of moving in the same direction. They're getting you somewhere. Now with Kang apparently not in the picture anymore, now it's totally directionless. So what's the point of all this?
That's true. Although I'm not going to knock Disney for that. Like, Jonathan Majors being whatever Jonathan Majors was being in that scenario, like, you couldn't account for that. At least I don't think you could have, right?
No, you can't. I mean, it's not Disney's fault that this happened, but honestly, it's probably for the better, because I don't even want to know what would have happened with Kang. They would have just schlocked it up, and it would have been just something eye-rolling. And this way, maybe it's a way to start something better, more fresh.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll see how it looks like. I mean, it's one of those things where, again, the direction of Marvel is something that I'm definitely concerned-ish about. I mean, not really. I have the faith that they'll write themselves, but I also have the faith on the last 3 movies and be like, they'll figure it out. Whoa. They'll figure it out. Whoa. So we'll see kind of what that is. But, I mean, even like the way they course-correct themselves with Daredevil, the new one, Born Again. Like, they had a totally different plan. They were going to bring back any of the returning characters. They were going in some totally different direction that was kind of badish crazy. And then whether it was feedback from what it was looking like, whatever the case may be, now they decided to go and do what they should have done, which is bring back, Foggy Nelson and Karen Page and, all these other favorite, like, characters with the actors and actresses that made, like, that's who we wanted to see, bringing them back in this universe and going forward. Like, it took them literally, like, backlash to make that happen. So maybe they're not as smart as I'm giving them credit for now, but that is kind of where we're at right now. But, yeah, speaking of Marvel and the future direction that they're at, let's talk comics now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Listen, y'all. Our transitions, all this is going to be so much better to keep doing this, but this is our first one. Bear with me.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad? Okay. I'm giving myself too much pressure. Thank you. All right. So this is the one comic story that we're going to talk about. And it's more, not even retrospective because it's still an ongoing series, but we want to just comment on it, talk about it, kind of see what we thought about it. Punisher. Punisher obviously has a long twisted history with Marvel. I love the early Punisher. I think that it's had some definite issues in terms of how it was received and how it was appropriated, and how Marvel just totally went and decided to change everything on it. And it's a horrific effect. Like, yes, I don't think it should be picked up by people who don't really read the comics and understand what the Punisher's actual feelings are toward, whoever he is. But, like, at the same time, I don't think Marvel should go, you know what, whoa, we don't want you to wear the Punisher symbol. Let's just change it entirely and make him a ninja. Like, what? Like, what are we doing? Or even worse, or better, I guess, what they did here, where basically, thanks to Jason Aaron, the Punisher, Frank Castle's no longer the Punisher. He let go of that. He renounced his war on crime at the end of Jason Aaron's series, and so now we have a new Punisher, a new character called Joe Garrison, who's taking the Punisher mantle. And listen, I mean, Jay and I read the first 3 issues that have come out, and we're going to talk about it. We'll probably try to link some pictures or something in the description here. I'm sure y'all already know about it. Like, it looks, he looks decent-ish enough. He almost looks like if you watch the Punisher Warzone movie, he looks more like that. Like, it's definitely more of a tactical suit. But what got me annoyed, what really ruined me from the top, is that his chest plates, like his armor, is what makes the look of the skull for the Punisher, but it wasn't even intentional. Like, he just wore it, and they're like, oh, is that the Punisher? He's like, oh. Like, it's literally a throwaway line in the issue number 1 of, like, oh, they think my battle armor is the Punisher logo. Well, whatever works the best. And then that's the Punisher? I mean, literally, let me just give the background before I go get your feedback, Jay. Joe, in many ways, similar enough to Frank Castle. He's a man of war. Joe worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. for many years. He was the wet work guy for S.H.I.E.L.D., an elite agent who took down targets that other people couldn't. So he was known as the Grave Digger, right? He comes back home in an attempt, of course, just like Frank, to set up a new, quieter life for himself and, all the family man things, right? Also, like Frank, though, Joe witnesses his family get murdered before his eyes. No gangland shooting for Joe, unlike Frank. None of that. He just goes home just as a gas explosion happens that takes away the lives of his wife and children. So, boom. The forensic evidence points to, some foul play. The police themselves believe that Joe did it. Joe's like, nope, I know who it was. It was an arms dealer known as the Sokovian. So he goes to track him down. That's all of issue 1. He starts fighting all these different people. Frank Castle had a sidekick named Micro. Joe Garrison has a sidekick called AAA, which stands for Arms and Analysis, which that's all. That's my reaction to that. But yeah, that's what it is. Basically, like, his skull-shaped body armor is what gives him the name. Like, that's why the media labels him the Punisher. He has skull-shaped armor and he kills people. Like, nothing else. And then as you read more about the series, you find out that his wife was actually the target. It wasn't Joe. And there's just so much more there that is just kind of annoying. But, like, ultimately, I just want to give the creators their due either way. The series is written by David Papos and drawn by Dave Watcher. So you got the David and Dave gang there. But, yeah, the question I had for Jay was, is the new Punisher a fly or a flop? And why do you think it is either of whatever you select?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say flop.
That's fair.
I'll tell you why.
That's fair.
It's not because it's something new and I'm old and curmudgeon-y and can't accept something, that's new in my life. Because, okay, number 1, it's too close to Frank Castle's story. So does this guy even know Frank Castle? Does he know? Is this the same universe the Punisher is? Because every beat that happens in this story reminds me of Frank Castle, and all I can think of is, why isn't this just Frank Castle? If you're going to start something new, make it totally new. Why does he have to have the exact same thing happen with his wife and family get killed by organized crime? He gets pissed off and he goes and kills all the gangsters or whatever he can find as violently as possible. He's got a sidekick. His armor looks like a skull. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of all this? It's basically the Punisher with blonde hair. That's all this dude is.
Yeah.
And I find that either lazy, creatively lazy,
Okay.
or just I refuse to believe it's naive, because so for people, and yes, I get that Frank Castle and the Punisher and the logo is a very problematic subject, politically, and there's a lot of people that want to see it go away, but it really didn't go away, because this is the exact same thing, only except he's not wearing the white skull on his shirt. It's just a different guy doing the same exact stuff. So what's the point of getting rid of the original character? And for people that have been reading comics for a long time, like you and I, yes, I don't agree with the Punisher's methods. I don't agree. I'm not a gun guy. I don't believe in gun violence. However, I feel like I have the intellect to be able to read a story and separate myself from it. And like I said, people that have been reading comics for a long time, the Punisher is just a part of the Marvel Universe.
He just is.
Like it or not, he's been there for a long time. Many of his stories have intertwined through many of these characters, through Spider-Man, through Daredevil. I mean, Nick Fury, Wolverine, Captain America. There's awesome stories that this dude has with all these characters. And then suddenly because it suddenly, it's become, I get it. Some unsavory folk have been using that Punisher logo, but why do we have to give it up? I feel like it's letting them win.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get political or anything. That's as far as I'm going to get, but I feel like you're just saying, okay, fine, they can have it. We'll just get we'll just reconstruct something shabbily that can sort of, be a stand-in for what we once had. But since you took it, we can't use it anymore. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think it's very reactive. I think that's been the entire thing. I feel like this is Marvel trying to have their cake and eat it too. Okay, we're gonna take away the Punisher. Why? Like, he's ingrained. Like, between his fights of his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man, his fights with Daredevil, like, he is ingrained in Marvel. Like it or not, he is here. Like, you can put out a statement denouncing it, whatever you want to do. Like, I don't know, the more logical thing to do as a business, as a brand. But no, like, get rid of him. Fine, that's dumb, but okay, fine. You do that, and then you say, well, let's bring back a Punisher. Like, we'll bring back a Punisher. There you go, right? Like, we'll make him close enough. No. And it'll be politically correct and all the things, and that's just not what it is. So, yeah, I agree. I think we read the first three issues. Not impressed. I mean, the artwork is actually fine. Like, the writing and artwork is fine. It's just the story is lazy itself. Like, episode 3, he finally kills in cold blood, and it's like, oh my god, like, he's the Punisher now. No, because that's not what the Punisher is. Like, there is so much more than just killing people, and I think people it's very reductive to think that, and that Marvel, I don't understand how the creators of the actual character don't understand that, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do like his little, the girl. In this case, it's like his Oracle. Triple A is kind of like his Oracle. I like that. I like that he's got, he works from old shield safe houses that are, heavily armed, so he knows where all those are. That's how he gets all his weaponry. And it's a lot of, I don't know. I like it's, like you said, the artwork is really, it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. No, I actually think it's really clean. I love the way it looks. I even love the way his armor like glows. Like, it's cool in terms of like a clean piece of work, but it's just not very good in terms of like, this ain't the Punisher. This is like some other character. If it was some other character, I'd be like, you know what, this is interesting. I'd say, you know what, it kind of feels like a knockoff Punisher, but that's funny because this is the actual Punisher replacement. So crazy there. But we are a little pressed for timing, so I'm gonna throw an audible in the spirit of the Super Bowl that just finished. And my comic question of the day is gonna be a much shorter one for Jay. Jay, in the last month, what's the best comic you've read?
Ooh, that's tough. The best comic I read. Well, I can't think of the best, but one of the ones that I thought was pretty cool was like Wolverine number, I believe it was 40 or 41, that starts something called the Sabretooth War. And so Sabretooth was imprisoned in Krakoa for pretty much the whole existence of Krakoa, of the island of, am I pronouncing it right? Krakoa? What do you think? Yeah. And he's been down there. He's been locked up, and when Orcus came and just basically blew it up, he was still down there, and he got out, and now he's seeking his revenge, to the X-Men, particularly Wolverine, and he's hunting them. And without doing any spoilers, he did something crazy violent. in fact, there's a warning on Wolverine number, I believe it starts in 40, if I'm not mistaken, that says, hey, this is not for kids. This is really violent. And sure enough, it was. And that was a pretty big surprise, and I'm liking where it's going. Love say, again, comic reader for a long time. Love the whole Sabretooth Wolverine rivalry, and it's getting real bad. It's getting real bad, Corbin.
Okay.
So it was cool. I liked it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear more of this, because this is really getting back into the weekly reads and trying to catch up on everything. So I'm excited to get a book that you like, that comes recommended by you, and kind of see in the coming shows what else you enjoy reading. But that's a good start. That's a good one. I don't really have anything for now. I'm literally just kind of getting back in the swing of things. I did like Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong. Like, I thought the artwork on that was really nice. That's something still ongoing, or was ongoing. So like, that's been fun to read. But aside from that, not a whole lot else. I'm happy to dig back into Batman. Happy to really get back going here as we get the Comic Book Barbarian show up and running for good. So it should be a blast for real here. But Jay, any final thoughts here before I wrap this show up? Thank you again for coming on, making this happen. We finally got this one up and going, my friend.
Yeah. No final thoughts. Just keeping my Wednesday reads. I'm trying. There's just I've just trimmed back so much because and it just sits for 2, 3, 4 weeks before I actually get around to reading it. And there's so much stuff that I have that I'll just, I just like buying number ones.
Okay.
I like buying, the new James Bond on Dynamite. I'm pretty excited for too. But it's hard to pass up a number one sometimes. And I'm like, oh, is this the next great thing I'm missing? Is this the Walking Dead that I'm missing? So I'll always pick it up, and consequently I have too much. I just get too much, and I end up not reading a lot, and things pile up. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep my my Wednesday Warrior reads to a minimum until I catch up. The new G.I. Joe came out on what's that? It's the offshoot of Image. I don't remember what it is, but so the new Transform. It's not Top Cow. Why can't I think of it? I'm having a brain fart. So yeah.
So line on this one.
So you got the G.I. Joe. You got Transformers now. And kind of like under the same umbrella, and that's been pretty fun. But yeah, other than that, I'm still liking Local Man on Image, Tony Fleek's story. I picked up Moon Man on Image. There's a pretty cool vampire book called Blood Commandment.
Okay.
Also on Image. Love vampire stories. Can't stay away from those. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, man. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out every week. And so that's not looking bleak. Maybe the cinematic side is looking a little dark, but the comic stuff, there's always cool stuff to read.
There's still potential there. And that's what keeps coming. We be coming either way, but that's definitely what keeps coming on this show for sure. But thank you, man. Thank you again for hopping on. Thank you for giving your insight. Thank y'all for tuning in. However long you may. It may have been the whole show. It may have been 5 minutes. I appreciate it. If you made it to the end, maybe cut the last 5 minutes. Thank y'all. We'll be back here soon. We're trying to figure out how the show's going to go and just different things. We have a lot of ideas. It's been right in the works for a minute, so it only gets better from here. But just make sure to stay tuned, okay? A lot of fun coming up, a lot of comics, a lot of good times. But for Jay, for myself, stay cool. Keep reading comics, y'all. We'll talk soon.